Can you make a modern bed look like an antique? I did. I'm going to show you exactly how I did it. We're also transforming curtains, hanging old mirrors, and some thrifted artwork. The full reveal is at the end of this video, and that's when I'm going to show you how I took a modern bed and made it look antique. Let's get started. Before we dive into that project, let's take a look at the room where this bed belongs. Now, this is the smallest guest room in our home. And in fact, it's so small that when we put a queen size bed in it, there just wasn't room for anybody to even move around. So one of my daughters suggested that we use the alcove of the closet as a place to kind of recess the bed. That afforded 2 more feet in this room, which is a lot of space in a bedroom. If you watched the first video in this series, then you know that I had already started a room makeover of this room last year, just weeks before my husband passed away. I'll be sure to link that video so you can see that. So this project was on hold because it was a little bit hard for me to tackle. So I decided to start fresh, and that is why I'm doing this makeover now. Now, the mirror that you're looking at, this whole gallery wall, by the way, turns out so pretty, but the mirror in particular is one of the purchases that my husband had made for me. He had bought that mirror for only $2 at one of our local auctions, and it is one of my favorite finds. The mirror is really heavy, and thankfully, I found a stud to screw the screw into, and I know that it's up there good and secure. If you have something this heavy, you might want to use a molly bolt. I like the kind that are, it's like a plastic piece that screws in, and then you add a screw to that, and it is a really secure way to hang a heavy object. I've been collecting these botanical prints for a few years now, and I have so many of them, and I even have my daughters on the lookout for these frames. And they can be pretty beat up when you find them at the thrift store. One of my daughters found this one and another one. I think they were each $12, but they were pretty scratched up. So I started out by just giving them a good cleaning, and then I gave them a coat of Restore Finish in dark walnut to cover the scratches. This isn't a perfect makeover, but it will certainly hold me over until I get around to redoing these frames completely. Next up, we're going to work on some curtains for this room. Now, I was given these curtains from one of my daughters. She traded me for a project that she would like me to complete, and I have 4 panels of these blackout curtains. They're nice, high quality, which is great. They're a little neutral for what I want for that room, although they're beautiful. But I happen to have these curtains, which I just adore. They're like a linen curtain. I've had them for quite a while. I think I originally bought them on Amazon. Very inexpensive. I will link these down below if you're interested. But my kids have requested in that spare room to have blackout curtains. So what I'm going to do is take this curtain panel and cut it down to fit the pretty panel. I'm going to use some heat and bond, some clips up on the curtain rod that I already have, and I'm going to make my own blackout curtains from this pair of blackout curtains along with the linen pair that I have, so they'll be pretty on the front side. You could do this easily with thrift store curtains. If you find a pair of curtains that are the weight that you like, but maybe they're not the color, and then you find a pair of curtains that are the color that you want, but not the weight, you could marry the two and have the perfect curtain for your windows. Some of you may know that I'm a quilter, and I have been for a very, very long time. This is one of the projects that I made probably 25 years ago. It is an old window that we found, and I made individual little quilt blocks to fit inside each window, and they're attached on the back. Here are some of the other quilts that I've made. Believe me, there have been many more than this of all sizes. I have queen size, I have a king size, I have small little table toppers, as well as wall hangings of all sorts. It's been a wonderful hobby. Anyway, one of my sisters had the idea of displaying these in this little cubby that was installed in the closet previously. Now, I needed storage in this closet area. I can't just get rid of it. And this is a great way to store all these quilts that I have. And then my guests know that they can pull one out at any time and get cozied up. It's artwork in its own right, don't you think? I removed the track that the bifold door would fit into. It's just a couple of screws, and then I took that track and I've got it tucked underneath the bed in case I ever need to hang those doors again, and the doors are stored up in the attic. Here's part of the project, and here's what happened. I got a little carried away last night and went ahead and stained all these pieces for this bed makeover. Oh no. Oh my goodness. Hang on a second here. I don't even have my tripod. Let's try it this way. Okay, so here's what not to do. That. Like, don't put this stain on that's also got a poly in it and then lay it down without, like, what could I have done to prevent that? Maybe make sure it was dry on the back, wipe it off on the back. I don't know, but I don't know what I did that made them stick like that. I thought for sure being on this open grate that it would really help. You wouldn't want to put paper on the back because it would stick to the paper. I wouldn't want that. If you have a suggestion of what I could have done so that this oil-based poly would not stick to a surface like this, please let me know. Maybe I should have just, I don't know what I should have done. Anyway, let me show you what I have here. All right, well, while I figure out how to get the rest of these unstuck, and I don't think it's, like, that one didn't stick at all. Like, why? This one is stuck, that one's not, that one is, and then these are the finials. Now, you'll notice, did these stick? That one barely stuck. Maybe just to be careful not to get too much of the stain on the back. Like, this one had more stain on the back of it than this one. And actually this one didn't have much at all. It was not stuck, so maybe that's the key. When I came out this morning, I saw this like residue here on spots of it. It turned out pretty blotchy. So what I'll do is I'm gonna give this a light sand. I'm gonna sand this with a 220, a sanding pad that's spongy so that it goes around these curves. And then I'll give this another stain later today. And this time I'll be sure to bring my camera with me. Now I'm also going to write a companion post to go with this part of the video, this particular project, because I think a lot of people would find a more modern looking bed, maybe at the thrift store, maybe on Facebook Marketplace, and they want to add a vintage look to it and can't find the vintage bed that they're looking for, like with me, and they want to turn it into more of a vintage and antique style. This is the way to do it. These wood appliques, all those pieces, the 2 large ones, the 4 smaller ones, and then it came with corner pieces that I'm not going to use. They were like square. I'll use those on some other projects. They were $20, which to me is very reasonable. They're solid wood, by the way, they're not plastic. And then the finials, I think I got the pair for $14. So it's a great way to add a vintage touch to a more modern piece to bring in that vintage and antique aesthetic that we love so much. Now that the appliques are dry, let's get them attached to the bed. The first step that I took was some measurements, and the first measurement I found was the center. That's the most important. And then once I had the center and I knew which piece would go in the center, I also made some measurements for those outside corner decorative pieces. This package includes 2 of those centers that you see me putting on, and then 4 for the outside corners to create like an L, an upside down L shape. And I was able to put 2 on one side and 2 on the other side. And then for this decorative piece in the center, I had this one for the headboard, and I also had one for the footboard. I placed each section in the spot where I wanted according to the measurements, where the measurements had a light pencil mark that came off easily, by the way. And I used blue painter's tape to hold it in place while it dried, and in some areas I needed to use a clamp. In the areas where the glue squeezed out, I used a small paintbrush with some water and a paper towel and cleaned it up. The lighting in this room shows these wood appliques a little bit more orange and darker than the actual headboard, but that's not the case in real life. It's just the lighting in this room. You'll see later on the footboard the actual color because it's in much better lighting later on in this video. Okay, friends, it's time for the before and afters. This is where we started, a room that was cramped, unsightly, and then we turned it into this beautiful sanctuary for my family when they come home to visit. Sit back and enjoy the tour. I'd love to hear your favorite part in this room. Tell me down in the comments. Didn't this room turn out so pretty? It just goes to show you that you don't have to have everything brand new in order to make a beautiful space for your guests. Just about everything in this room was either thrifted, bought at an auction, or given to me. The beautiful bed is definitely the star of the show, at least in my opinion. I'd love to know what you think. Tell me down in the comments what part of this room is your favorite. You can absolutely take a modern bed and give it an antique and vintage feel, and now you know just how to do it. Drop a comment below and let me know your favorite part of this room. If you haven't seen part 1 of this room makeover, I've got it linked right here as well as down in the description below. Subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. What are we doing? And art. No. Okay, scratch all that one. No, we're not transforming more. Curtains, mirrors, and what was the last thing? Okay, here it is. Some thrifted curtains. These are not thrifted. See? Favorite aspect. No, not aspect. Wherever it is. Make sure that you do by, make sure that you click. Where? Subscribe so you don't see what's coming next. Now, I don't need to say that. Okay, this is the one right here. Okay, I think it's going to be enough.